Okay, can you see my screen here with the color contrast thing? Be sure to check your color contrast in here, because I'm seeing some stuff that doesn't have a sufficient amount of contrast for accessibility. This is regardless of whether or not your persona has a vision problem. You need to make sure that your colors pass this. Okay, and I found that link here. Sorry. It was right here in the P1.12a. And then this looks like this was the one that allows you to upload your images for, come on, for different colorblind issues. But be sure to check your color contrasts here. Okay, I added the template, so you can download that, and what it's going to look like is, let's see. It's going to look like this. You're going to delete all the green stuff. You're going to, so you're going to rebrand this whole template with your app's logos, colors, typeface, etc. So you can adjust the spacing and layout as you see fit. Don't delete anything, only add, and then fill out and replace everything that's this bright green, right? I don't think anybody's using this bright green as their brand system, so I shouldn't see any green with your brand system within this document. And then obviously then you would delete this page whenever you're done. Here for the, so this will end up being your first page of the presentation. So you might want to put your logo. Well, for sure you want to put your logo plus maybe a tagline or some brand attributes. Maybe you want to put some imagery in here to set your app in context. You know, is it, you know, Delbert on the train? Is it Sadie out at the Hive? So on and so forth. Like that's just some advice. Do with that what you will. But for sure there needs to be a logo and a tagline or brand attributes in here. Next, you'll replace this circle here with an image of your persona. Replace the persona's name, and then give a few bullet points of, so like reread your persona and list anything relevant to your app. For example, if your app is for someone who works in HR like Liz, it would be relevant to list that here. On the other hand, you wouldn't tell us Liz's boyfriend's name here since that wasn't relevant to your app. Does that make sense? So you want to list things here, and then, oh, also, you may find it helpful to list key pain points from your user journey map as well. Be sure to mention disabilities, motivations, frustrations, and anything else that relates to your app. So there's something happening here. Over here, you're listing your demographic information, like the persona's age, race, gender, and location. And this is something I want y'all to pay attention to, what's changing about your working world. Over here is the way we used to think about design, okay? Age, race, gender, location. Over here, this is the way the world's starting to think about design. Things that relate more specifically to the user's needs, rather than dissecting them into things that are a little easier to quantify, but could be very different in terms of a persona's need. So over here, you're listing still that demographical information of age, race, gender, and location. So one major hint, if your persona has a particular race, that should be clear here, right? Like, don't, if your persona is Sadie, she's African American. So does that make sense? Like the picture should relate. Um, so you'll fill out this information. Then here, so this is an example where the only thing on the page you would change is this over here. You would plug in your user story. So you see here how I'm showing like this was the problem statement. This is your user story. This is how you answered that problem statement, or part of how you did it. But the user story really is like the 1 minute talk heart of your app. Here, you wouldn't necessarily change this stuff up here, but you would plug in what's your user's input, and then what's the impact the user sees on their community. So again, you can change layout and stuff if you want, but you wouldn't you wouldn't get rid of content. Here you'll plug in replace these images with pictures of your user story, or sorry, your user testing and your test subjects. And then over here you would list, here you'll list key things your group learned through usability testing. Please note here, if you tested with someone who specifically related to your persona, be sure to note why they related. So here's a little summary of your user testing. And then you'll just pop in a link here to your explainer video. So that'll be the presentation part. And you can add things if you want, but this will be the presentation part. And then we'll go into that video. Does that make sense? Are there any questions on that?
So for the picture of the persona, do you just want us to use like a stock image?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, find a stock image out there of somebody that you think fits your persona. And please, please, make sure that you reflect their gender, age, and race. I know those things can be ambiguous, so work with that though. Okay, so any more questions on the presentation? So that's going to be your presentation, and we've already talked a little bit about your video today. I'm going to upload the video of this, and then also the video stuff I did at the beginning of the class. I'll upload those again so you have access to it. Just know it takes me a couple hours to make those videos, so it won't be up right away. The other thing I wanted to show everybody was sometimes when I've exported a video from After Effects, it ends up being a huge video file that takes longer for YouTube to process. So here's a workflow I would suggest. So hopefully everybody's paying attention. But what I did was I'm in After Effects, right? I go to File, Export to Media Encoder. Then that will open up Media Encoder here. And you see where I've already done this once. So it'll look like this. Now, I don't know why, but the video settings are all under H.264. Makes a lot of sense, right? Oh, that's the video settings. So if you come in here, then it gives you all kinds of settings that you can do to make your video not enormous in size. And I went down here to YouTube 1080p full HD. So that's what you would want to hit the start button on to make sure that your video is compressed and sized correctly for YouTube. Does that make sense? Okay. Was there anything else? Okay, so yeah, we did the contrast check. So the only other recommendation I had was if you're anything like me, so she's my wife now, but my girlfriend in college, I occasionally would get her help with videos that I was doing. And whenever we recorded them, she would nail her lines like on the first try, and it would take me 4 or 5 tries because I would fumble over some word. So I would encourage you, if you want to use somebody else, go for it. Um, although, it's your project, you're going to show the most passion about it. And then if you get somebody else to do it, you're going to have to explain everything to them. So, I mean, if that's extra work that you want to do, that's fine. But I would suggest recording in chunks. Like, don't record one continuous, hey, I said everything. Oh, shoot, I messed up on that word. Now I have to re-record it. Like, record them in small chunks, and then you can pop that audio into um, your design in your After Effects file. Does that make sense? You can add in audio files just the way I did the other files. Just drag and drop or import it. Um, you can also mess around with the volume on audio files. Is there any questions before we end? So just in review, like we're